Hey everyone, Shawn Clement here, Wisdom in Golf, and man, do we have an amazing show for you today. So many of our good players that come to see us are letting us know that, hey man, things are going really well, my irons are great, but my driver, I get a couple of snap hooks every once in a while that destroys my score, and I want to nip those in the bud, right? So we're going to show you through Fat Perez, who has an incredible golf swing, a really solid golf game under pressure, and there's some really cool things that you can learn from this. So we're gonna show you what we would do to help him tidy up those lefts. And it's really low-hanging fruit. It's very minute details that you can do instantly without practice. It's on the spot. So let's get to it. The first thing I wanna show you is how athletic his setup is. Many of you don't get to that setup. You're standing nice and tall here with the ball and you're feeling pretty good, but you're very static. You'll notice Fat Perez is secure. He's got his glutes and his quads engaging the arches of his feet, and he's getting ready to engage a full-out golf swing. So you'll notice face on how he's already preloaded into his right side. And so he's getting ready to hit up on the ball with that driver. But because he's loaded on the right side, if you look at a sound golf swing has two kinetic chains. You're actually using the right leg to remove your body out of the way to create a proper turn in the backswing. Fat Perez has an adequate turn. I could see him increasing that somewhere between what he's doing now and what Bryson DeChambeau does, which is really to the extreme. And you'll notice that with that tree in the background, you can't really call it a sway because he's already in that right leg, ready to use it to get out of the way. So as he's completing that turn, he's falling off that right leg back into the left leg. And that left leg is really nicely loaded. So as he moves into that left leg, that engages his kinetic chain. So the really cool thing that happens when that kinetic chain engages is he actually increases lag in the downswing. And here's something that I really want you to take with a grain of salt because, former analysis from other professionals have said, look at how he keeps the back of his left wrist flat at the top of the swing, which is going to cause him to have a very shut face. If he were to swing down with that cup, he'd snap hook everything. But you notice in the downswing, he actually downcocks and his wrist is actually slightly cupped. Cupping the wrist is not a bad thing. It's what we do when we're hinging. So you can try it right now. If you open your hand and you hinge up and down, you can keep the back of the hand nice and flat when you do that. But when you make fists, now when you hinge up and down, you'll notice there's a slight cup in the back of the wrist. This is good because if I try to flatten it, now my wrist is all locked up. I can no longer properly hinge on that anatomical snuff box. So he'll get to the top of the swing. His takeaway, by the way, is fantastic. It's right on point with the path that he's trying to swing on. And as he gets to the top of the swing, he allows that wrist to flatten out and that right arm to fold down. And from face on, it looks a little bit bunched up. One of the things that we would love to see more of in his swing is more width. So if he increases that turn, he can gather more width and get more of that set on his wrists. And then from there, when you set the wrists properly on those snuff boxes, notice the club face stays nice and square. If I bow my wrist, notice how that closes the face. So for those of you who start with a grip that's very neutral and you tend to hit it to the right, a lot of instruction is going to tell you to bow the wrist to close it up. But now you're coming in a very compromised position. Fat Perez has a strong grip. He's on the strong grip side. Then he allows that to flatten out, and that really shuts the face at the top of the backswing. Now in the downswing, as he downcocks, notice that squares up the face. And sometimes it does enough and sometimes it doesn't. So we would like a little more width. A little more width will have his arms more in front of him. And now when he's coming through, he'll have more space to deliver in the direction that he wants to start. And with that wrist not as bowed or flat, just naturally hinged, you'll notice that that shot is going to come out a lot straighter. And he may like to do some power fades once in a while with that too. You know, my longest drives are fades. One of the longest drivers in the history of the game, Bubba Watson, plays fades, has a deep wrist hinge at the top of the backswing with a cupped wrist. It's not a bad thing. It's actually anatomically very functional and very sound. So don't be thinking you got to go and do this and start manipulating your body parts to make sure, because you're just going to shoot yourself in the foot. The final thing that I want to touch on is you'll notice that after he shifts and he's coming through, I mean, his just pre-impact position is very much Aldrich Potgieter, right? You watch that approach into the ball and look at Aldrich Potgieter coming in. I mean, this is world-class stuff right here. And Aldrich Potgieter is a super, hinged, very cupped on the way down, okay? So as I'm coming through, if I turn a little too much toward the target, you'll notice his head starts to turn towards the target. That can cause a little bit of an offset to the left as well. We talked about it in other videos. We are binocular vision machines. When I want to go towards you and I face you, I'm pulling left. Now I'm going to have to do all kinds of gymnastics with my club face to not, lose the furniture to the left. So what I'd like to see Fat Perez do is always have an intermediate point and use his delivery with the blur of his club. So you'll notice the blur of the club right here. If I want to do a little bit of a draw, I'm going to step back here. I want to start that down right edge of my intermediate point, down the right center, and then draw it back to center. So that would be, there we go. So when I set up, I want my blur to stay right edge of my intermediate point. And you'll notice when Fat Perez takes that takeaway again, it is right on point. And you notice as it's coming through, the tracer is starting right on the line that he wants to start the ball on, except it's got a little too much side spin. You can see that that club face is coming in a little too shut. So I'm going to start this a little bit more to the right, down the right center of the fairway. I see that blur in my mind, and because I'm dealing with the blur of the club, notice my head doesn't move forward. Because if it did, this is me wanting to go to the right of the intermediate point. Notice my head staying back. If my head were to come a little forward, notice now that just smothered over the ball and to the left. So if I can stay in the direction that I want to start it, notice my head's tilt maintains itself nicely. So Fat Perez is maintaining a good tilt, but it's kind of opening up a little bit, and that has a propensity for pulled shots to the left. We showed you with Bob how that side vision is really affecting Bob in a major way. That's why he's slicing everything off the tee and pulling a lot of iron shots to the left of the green. Fat Perez is a much, much more polished version and a little more athletic version of, what happens to Bob. If you want to do this more often and really enjoy your game, please join us at wisdomandgolfpremium.com. My life's work is in that website. If you're new to Wisdom in Golf, you want to go to theflightlabgolf.com, where we've put all of our core videos in order that we just recently filmed on the golf course last season. And it's going to take you from point A to point Z insofar as building the right golf swing for yourself. If you already have a golf swing, the missing pieces that are missing from your golf swing on an anatomical standpoint as well as a mental standpoint, so that when you get out on the golf course, you know how to choose your flight plans, you know how to deliver into those flight plans with the feel that you're looking for. If you need a little extra help, we have an amazing online program where we have dedicated days where we go around the world a couple of times a week, helping people from all over, from all skill levels, enjoy this game so much better. It's one of my favorite ways to teach. Plop your phone on a tripod, you got an internet connection, you got a hitting area, maybe a simulator. We do such productive work now. Hopefully you'll join us and enjoy your golf a lot more in the process. I'm feeling my arms and club tracking that arc to the right edge of that intermediate point, and I'm just staying. I'm going to witness that back and through. There it is. I don't think I could do it any better than that. So I can put my hand in the fire and swear I stayed with that direction. And you'll notice how nice that tracer went out. So my path was 4 degrees to the right. My side spin was 350 spin back to the left. My carry was 297. My total was 316. And I felt like I was on cruise control. So a great way to notice this, see the peak of your cap? Now I can go to the right edge. This is going to drive your brain nuts. It thinks it's going to the right. So you're trying to right the ship by going to your target. If you do that, you're going dead left. So I'm just going to maintain the peak of my cap back and through. See that? So I've got a visual reference of where I'm staying, and then I match that up to the blur of the club. I'm going, yeah, if my cap goes forward, whoop, that blur just went left. That cap stays, the blur just went right edge. So if you're able to maintain that path through the ball in your intermediate point, you're going to hit a lot more fairways. So lastly, if we can get Fat Perez to increase that range of motion just a little bit more, then what's going to happen is he's going to be able to use more momentum through the shot and not have to add to it, force it. And that's what happens to a lot of good players. They get here and they, so what happens is if they yank down a little too hard too soon, it destroys the timing of the swing. So at address, I want to really feel like I'm about to use a nice dose of momentum to deliver through. So when I have momentum, then it's easy for me to get that speed. I won't feel the need to push on it. My rhythm and timing are going to improve dramatically in the process. We need to turn to be able to have width. If I'm going to snap a punch towards you, my body needs to be here. I can't be here. So if you're experiencing collapse or tightness in your swing, it only means that you're trying to hit the ball with the arms. So it doesn't matter what size you are, it's not going to go very well. So if I'm using momentum and I really gather that backswing, a la Bryson DeChambeau or Jack Nicklaus in his prime or Bubba Watson, then from there, man, ripping through easily is going to be a breeze. So I hope that you guys enjoyed those little, pearls of wisdom, and start applying it. Tell us what you think in the comments. See you in the next one.